Time to move out of comfort zones. Comfort zones are those places that have become familiar and perhaps beloved to parts of you, and, so, are limited to offer the growth that you need and desire. Settling into a place that you feel comfortable can be about an ease, a sense of just being you, and seeing that reflected back to you. It also can be about shrinking yourself to fit in with your environment, relationships, jobs, the energies around you. This is more what I mean about moving out of comfort zones. Shrinking yourself inside in order to feel more comfortable with the frequencies that you are experiencing on the outside is a sign of being in a comfort zone. One of the biggest ways staying in comfort zones shows up is in relationships, especially with birth family, long-term romances, and friendships. You may have an awareness of a role you are playing, a mask you are putting on, an energy that comes up from inside in order to respond to these relationships. You may notice that you are hiding or obscuring, or maybe even lying about your budding awakenings, spiritual perspectives shifting, emotional body realizations. It is like you are in the closet, and parts of you just aren't ready to come out yet, as this closet has become a comfort zone. You may avoid conflict or confrontation with others who are becoming no longer resonant with you in order to stay in a comfortable place on both sides. A comfort zone can also be about staying in a lone wolf phase rather than moving into more experience of resonant and supportive community. Parts of you become comfortable with being on your own, especially if you have disconnected from 3D-based relationships with family and friends. This phase may be a sacred and necessary one for you, and yet, also, the deeper desires for resonant soul tribe community can be buried under the sense of comfort and safety that sets in from being and doing life alone. In romantic relationships, there can be the deepest ties and binds of comfort zone relating. Even if there is a lot of conflict and tension in the relationship, this can become comfortable and familiar to parts of you. This seems to especially be true if these were the frequencies your parents' relationship was in and you became used to it. Or, maybe in the relationship you'd have settled into a brother and sister connection where the hotness, body talk, soul resonance, mentally stimulating each other, hearts vulnerably sharing. All these frequencies have been shut down or greatly modulated, or maybe never really were transactable in the relationship. Staying in a long-term romantic relationship for which you no longer feel in love with your partner in all domains of body, mind, soul and heart is one of the biggest ways that shrinking into a comfort zone can manifest. Feeling the parts of you that are in the relationship and why can help to identify the deeper reasons and motivations for staying in it rather than moving on. During the flash and crash of the dark night stages of awakening, it may become very obvious to you what has become a comfort zone for parts of you and what needs to be changed around that in relationships. The clashes start happening when parts of you can no longer show up for the make-believe dance with others or hide what you are really feeling. You may burst out suddenly with your truth, long suppressed, and create shockwaves in your world. Or, you may cut off suddenly with newly energized boundaries that may be long overdue. Or, you find a soul family group that supports your authentic self and seem to suddenly overnight come out of the spiritual closet to all your friends and family. In whatever ways this unveiling and moving out of the comfort zone in relationship happens, it seems to be a sacred and necessary aspect of the ascension process. As you walk out of the old frequencies with others, you are actually inviting them into the new, with your movements through the heart cord you share with them. The boundaries that you need to set become a compassionate and merciful invitation to offer exploration into a healthier and more mature ground of resonant connection. You are inviting them into the real and to be real about what they feel along with you, whether they can or are meant to show up for this or not. Your movement into this moves all, as we are all connected in the web of life. Higher vibrational relationships based in soul and heart resonance are not about getting comfortable and staying stuck there. They encourage and inspire you to keep growing, to keep rising, to keep being who you most authentically are. They are mirrors providing you with a sense of desire to share love, be vulnerable, go into deeper places of intimacy. They encourage emotional risk-taking and do not ask you to shrink who you really are to fit them. There is a sense of reverence in every moment about them, and they are not taken for granted or just assumed they will always be there. They arise anew as you arise anew, or they complete when and if the ground of transaction runs out. Another area where comfort zones can develop and limit your growth is in careers, businesses, whatever means you earn your livelihood from. Even living off of disability or financial support from others, whether former spouses, parents, or the government, can indicate a shrinking going on and settling into a comfort zone. Because money can bring up so much anxiety for parts of us and lack of trust, they can cling at whatever means provide a steady stream to assuage that anxiety. Long-term careers and businesses that are more based in 3D frequencies are maybe obvious to you, and you may even be consciously unhappy or unfilled in them with desires to change them. However, even spiritually based income earnings, for which you are sharing your gifts, can become comfort zones if they are not challenging you anymore to grow, and it is more part of you that is doing and performing them rather than your authentic self. Not earning any money or very little and being supported by others, especially if this requires you to shrink to keep the spiritually non-resonant relationship going, is another way this can show up. There is a sense of being disempowered to support your own needs, and a deep codependency can develop here, especially for those souls who need to move back home to live with parents for a phase. It is challenging in this situation to feel and become your authentic self and embody more your higher self, as you may be constantly feeling capped by a sense of now being dependent. Even if you don't consciously feel this, it might be worth it to dig deeper to connect with the parts of you that no longer want to be in this situation and feel capped by it. You might even decide to go get a job just so you can move out on your own again or into resonant soul tribe community and on to the next phase of your growth. As you feel what your soul purpose is here to serve love, and you trust more that all your needs will get met in serving this purpose, you begin to feel how the previous ways and means of supporting yourself financially may be comfort zones that require you to shrink. Money is love energy, so whatever way you are receiving it, that energy impacts you and your ascension awakening process. Higher vibrational livelihood comes from aligning with your soul purpose to serve love here. Feeling in an abundant overflow of love from inside that overflows then in what you experience as outside abundance. Serving your soul's vocation and sharing your soul gifts rather than doing an occupation is a shift into higher vibrational expression that leads to much more joy, fulfillment, and growth. The high frequencies of love and light that are washing, flooding, and coursing into Gaia's and our inner atmospheres are supporting these movements out of our comfort zones. The higher frequencies just can't move in the denser energies of codependence or shrinking to fit 3D vibrations. We aren't meant to be in zones, as those are just another form of compartment, and our infinite love energy wants to spread, to fly, to soar, to move, to be without limits. All of the zones that parts of us have created eventually become flooded with love, inviting us to move into our next places of challenge, risk, and growth. Over and over until it is more about responding with the leading edge of our being to the next growth place rather than needing to move out of a previously trailing edge one based in a comfort zone. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe.